So hi, I'm gonna visit the Topkapi Palace today and make a guided tour. I'm a tour guide, you know. Today, first I'm gonna show you the main palace section and then I'm gonna show you the harem. That's the entrance to the Topkapi Palace. That's a beautiful fountain from the Ottoman times. So that fountain is from the 18th century. On all four sides you can drink water still, but I would not recommend. This is half Baroque, half Ottoman style. Beautiful. And that's the entrance to the Hagia Sophia. Surprisingly, the entrance to the Hagia Sophia is here. That's the Topkapi Palace. I said the other way around, I think. So that's the main entrance. In the middle is a signature of Sultan Mehmed II. So you can see in the middle Sultan Mehmed's signature and then his titles. He says that he is descendant of Osman I, the first Sultan. On the right side in Arabic it says the Sultan is the shade of God on earth. On the left side it says the Sultan is the protector against a protector of the poor people. So the palace, in the palace, the Sultan reigns for God and for people. So you see the Topkapi Palace has walls and it is connected to the walls of Constantinople on the seaside. You see that's the Marmara Sea over there and we call that the wall of the Sultan. When you're inside there is an X-ray control machine because it's owned by the president, so everything is controlled. Now I'm inside the Topkapi Palace. The Topkapi Palace has 4 courtyards, 3 gates. We went inside from the first gate and on the first courtyard there are some interesting things. For example, that one, that's the Hagia Irene. Irene is older than the Hagia Sophia and it has much more significance than the Hagia Sophia. It's very close. That's the Hagia Sophia, that's Hagia Irene. The Trinity was accepted here, 381, First Council of Constantinople. Emperor Theodosius was also here at that council. The Holy Ghost was accepted as the third part of the Trinity. We still have pilgrims from everywhere, from Ukraine, Romania and so on, coming and visiting that. Today it's a museum. The Ottomans used it as a weaponry. So on the right side of the Hagia Irene there's a gate, that's the mint. Every sultan had its own name on the coins, right? The coins were produced here, gold, silver and so on. There's another gate on the right side. There was in the history a zoo where exotic animals were held and then these animals were used to frighten the ambassadors from Europe who passed by. So in the first courtyard, as I told you, everybody could come in and talk with the ministers and also with the Sultan later if they were accepted. So that was a free courtyard. As I'm not doing now, you don't have to pay anything to get inside. Only on the second gate you have to pay something. So on the way, on the right side, there's a prison up there, a tower, and people who were sentenced to death were held there, and they were held here for 1 week. And so it's on the street because the Sultan had the chance to forgive them all the time, because in the Islamic law, the Sharia, there is a death sentence, but it's better to forgive than to kill. That's why they were held here. By the way, if you go that road, there's also the Archaeological Museum of Istanbul behind these trees. Also, I would recommend you to visit that if you have more time. So if you want to go to the toilet, there's a museum shop inside. There's a free toilet. There's also a cafe where you can take coffee and stuff like that. So here you buy the tickets and here you enter the palace with the ticket. However, because I'm a tour guide, for me it's for free. So you see that fountain? That's the bloody fountain. That was the execution on that stone. People were executed and then the executioners would wash their hands there. That's why the name Bloody Fountain. So that's the main gate of the Topkapi Palace. From here on you have to have the ticket. In the middle it says there's only one God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. The main sentence of Islam, because that's the entrance for like the entrance to the paradise. So you enter from here and you see there's the parliament. There's the Sultan's Road. It leads to the third courtyard. We will go there too. And the kitchens are on the right side. Oh, there are a lot of people. It's very difficult to film here. If you want to visit the Harem, also it's on the other side. So behind me is the Divan. We call it Divan-i Humayun in Turkish, the Imperial Palace. And above that there's a beautiful tower. That was the tallest tower at the time. We call it the Tower of Justice, and it rises above the parliament because the Sultan also had to follow the justice. Because if he was unjust, he was put down by the ministers and by the head of Islam and so on. For example, Sultan Abdul Hamid II, one of the last sultans, he was deposed by the Sheikhul Islam, the head of Islam, because they say he forbade the spreading of the Quran and so on. So the sultans were not dictators. They were controlled by the Senate, okay, by the ministers. So they could be deposed. There are a lot of sultans who were deposed. Some of the sultans even put down by the military coup and so on. So they were not as powerful as you think. So all these writings on the walls are in Arabic alphabet, but this is Turkish language. Turkish people can't read it, they understand it. But the Arabic people can read it, but they don't understand it. So no one can understand it. That's the problem of these things. Only historians can read it. We call it Ottoman Turkish. Now we are getting inside the divan. Okay, so now we are inside the divan. The Sultan sat in the middle, and when he was not here, he was behind that window and listened to what the ministers were talking. When he was not here, the Grand Vizier was here standing and doing the seating, and all the important people were here, the ministers, the head of Islam, the judge of Asia, the judge of Europe, and so on. And sometimes the people were also allowed here to talk to the Sultan, so it's a very important place. You see, it's a very small place, because it's very interesting. The Ottomans ruled 64 countries of today's world map from here. So Greece was ruled from here. Can you imagine that, for 400 years, Greece from here? So it's a very humble place, but it had a lot of significance in the history. And there's a cage here, and that cage stood on top of that window. There's a secret way from the Harem to here, to that window, so only the Sultan could come here and listen what the people did. Sometimes they did something against the Sultan, sometimes against the population, and the Sultan heard that and tried to prevent it. So there's a small clock museum. I'm not gonna get inside. If you're here, you can see it yourself. Mostly gifts from European countries. There's a beautiful weaponry. I love that area. I'll show you the armory of the Ottoman soldiers. These are lances to put the cavalry down. These were used by the infantry. So when the army attacked, to put them down from the horse, these were used. These are the helmets, Ottoman helmets. They look like the helmets of Nazguls from the Lord of the Rings. These were the armors of the horses, and these were used by the generals, because normally soldiers have leather dresses. Look at the swords. And the swords are always bent, not like European swords, because for the Ottomans it's important to be fast, okay? So when they hit, they can immediately turn and fought again, while the Europeans, they have to carry the sword back and hit again. Ottomans were very fast. We have here some bows. The Ottomans could throw on horseback, archery, okay? They learned it from the Chinese tribes, you see? That's why it was very easy for the Ottomans to conquer European lands, because they didn't knew this technique. Like they turned away, the army followed them. They turned away again and shot with the bow and arrow, and then encircled the army. These were used by the infantry to hit the head. These also, the bigger ones by the cavalry. That's also by the cavalry, by riding, just hitting the head. These are the shields. These are also for hitting. That's owned by the son of the conqueror, Sultan Mehmed. His name is Beyazıt. So these are all the swords of Sultan Süleyman. He reigned for a long time, and that's by Sultan Mehmed. However, the best weapon in the Topkapi Palace is this one. This is owned by Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople. That sword is a heroic sword. So very important for the history of Turkey and for Turkish people. Here we have some weapons, pistols, and some gifts from Japan, samurai swords. We have some very big swords from the Crusaders. Some say these are just ceremonial. These were just held high to frighten the enemy, but who knows? And now I'm going to the third courtyard. That's the third gate, by the way. And after that, the special chambers of the sultans begin. Ministers were not allowed there, only with special permission. On the right side, by the way, you see big chimneys, because that was the place where it was cooked for 10,000 people every day. That was cooked, and all the cooks were, of course, men. Women were not allowed to cook. And behind these kitchens is also an alchemy laboratory, because a lot of sultans got poisoned. Sultan Mehmet got poisoned a lot, and at the end he died because of poisoning. So they tried to prevent the poisonings with this chemistry laboratory kitchen. So the confectionery kitchen where Turkish delight was made. Helva, we call it also the helvahane. Look, big chimneys here. So big were these things where they made the Turkish helva. It was cooked for 10,000 people every day. These are gifts mostly from European countries. Here we have a kitchen museum. You can visit that if you want. Too much detail for me. So the cooks used to live here. They also have a mosque for them to pray. They stayed here all day, all night, and they served the sultan and the ministers. And also there's a coffee museum also. I mean, there are so many little details. You need time to visit all of them, okay? So that's the mosque. Here we also have a big artifact, big column header from the Byzantine times. Also toilets here. So that's the gate, and in the middle is a place for the flag of the Prophet Muhammad. As you know, the Ottomans controlled Saudi Arabia, so they brought a lot of artifacts here. And the throne of the Sultan was also in the front. That's now in the exhibition hall. And every general would come and kiss the hand of the Sultan in the ceremonies. So it's a special place for the Sultan. This is where the Sultan looked when he was in his throne. When you're here, there are the toilets, by the way, just before that entrance. Toilets, and also a small buffet if you want to have some drink. The gate leads here. So that's the audience chamber. If the ambassador... Oh my God, wait. So that's the audience chamber. If an ambassador would come and want to speak with the Sultan, he would come inside. But he was not allowed to talk to the Sultan. He was carried by soldiers inside. He had to kneel down and don't look at the Sultan, look down, okay? And if he wanted to say something, he would say to the translator would go and say it to the Grand Vizier, and the Grand Vizier was allowed to talk to the Sultan, and if the Sultan responded, he would tell it to the Grand Vizier, then to the translator, and then to the ambassador, to show the hierarchy that not everyone is eligible to talk with the Sultan. And above that gate, before he goes inside the Sultan to rule into the Divan, he reads that sentence. It says, the highest wisdom is the fear of God. So before he rules over the people, he has to fear God. On the entrance on the right side is a small fountain. It was opened so nobody could listen from the outside because of the sound of the water. It says, in the name of Allah, the most merciful. So there was a throne normally, but now it's in the exhibition hall. I'll show you the exhibition hall so you know where to look. There's also a small fountain, you see? That was also turned on, so no one can listen from the outside. So, okay, I'm now in the third courtyard, and there's a university here. It's the first time in the history where we have a university in a palace. In the middle is a library. So the Ottoman sultans, they made a lot of wars in the Balkans and so on. And a lot of kids, they lost their fathers, Christian boys. They were taken, brought here to the university, and they were educated in Islamic lectures and also in a lot of different topics like physics, warfare, and so on. And then later, when they graduated, they were married with the people in the Harem. And later they would be governors of different countries. For example, usually the boy from Greece would become the governor of Greece because he knows the language, he knows their culture, and so on. So if you understand this area, you can understand how the Ottoman Empire was able to rule all these lands. The Ottomans learned a lot from the previous empires like the Persian Empire, the Arabic empires, also the Turkish empires before. The Turkish people were always an empire, and they know how to lead people. The library, we have writings from Sultan Mehmet II, who conquered the city. He knew 9 languages very well. He was an amazing person. We have his books. He read the Iliad of Homer and then made Ottoman notes to the side. He read it in ancient Greek language. So he even knew ancient Greek. He was an amazing person. Look at the beautiful entrance here of the library. I mean, the Ottomans laid a lot of the importance of education. They had teachers from a lot of places around the world. Look at the tiles on the windows. We have not seen this before, right? It looks beautiful, and also the columns are from different places. I mean, yeah, this shows how important education was for them. And the Sultan had its own teacher, of course, who taught him about everything. He just was responsible. So the Sultan is a wise person, and these people are highly educated. I mean, the most educated people in the empire. Here we have a world map, a fraction of a world map of Piri Reis. Piri Reis was the man who made the first world map in the world. That's original, okay? That's hilarious, I mean. Just to see that, I would recommend you to enter this room of the library. So that's a pickaxe. That was used during the construction of that building. So that the library is so important that they even saved the pickaxe they used during this construction. That's the exit. You see there's a beautiful fountain on the exit. Look, I mean, you know for what this is? This is for birds. So birds can come and drink water from here. We have a lot of places like this. Also in many cemeteries. On tombstones there are things like this for the animals. It's amazing that they also cared for the animals. So here, usually I give free time in my tours because that's an exhibition place. Here, if you go here, there's the clothings of the sultans. It's beautiful, I would recommend it. That's the treasury, the thrones of the sultan, the swords, all the jewelry are there. And then I would recommend you to go to that way. And there, I'm going to show you anyway. There you can take picture of the Bosphorus and of the Golden Horn. And behind that building is another entrance like this. And there is the sacred chamber where the Islamic artifacts are located. So now I'm entering the clothing section of the palace. That's owned by Sultan Mehmed, who conquered the city. This is the most beautiful one, also from Sultan Mehmed II. It's amazing, look at this. That is by Sultan Selim, who conquered Egypt and Saudi Arabia. That's owned by Selim II. He was the son of Harem Sultan and Sultan Suleiman. Harem Sultan from Ukraine. These are by the sultans from the 19th century. Modern clothings. On that room we have some magical clothings for the sultan to protect against magic. Also on warfare there are prayers to protect the sultan from damages. And here we also have big, very big clothings. These are only ceremonial, okay? The sultans were not fat like this. And the ceremonies, they had to be seen from far away to look good and big and strong. That's why they had to wear this during ceremonies. On their daily lives, of course, they didn't use these things. There's also the clothing for kids and for women. But you can also see them from here, so you don't have to go up the stairs. Now I'm gonna go inside the treasury. That's the sword of Sultan Selim II, conqueror of Egypt. And that's from Sultan Suleiman, the Magnificent. That's the biggest diamond in the palace. It's called woodmaker's diamond because it was found in a trash by a woodmaker and sold to the palace almost for free. So here we have the best view over the Bosphorus, the Golden Horn and the Marmara Sea. Look at this. Here we see walls of Constantinople again. So that's the throne of the Sultan. Even the last Sultan, Vahdettin, was crowned on this, okay? That's a very important crown, complete of gold plates and with some pearls, diamonds and so on. It's amazing. That's the ceremonial clothing of the Sultan. That's a Topkapi dagger, one of the most beautiful daggers in the world. Look at this. Made by Sultan Mahmud I for the Iranian Shah, but he died, so it was returned to the palace. That's for the rich kids. These are the weapons. You can also see this in Vienna, by the way. Because during the siege of Vienna, the Ottomans fled and they left these things there. Almost exactly the same from the museum, Heeresgeschichtliches Museum in Vienna. We have some medallions from Germany, Austria, and so on. A beautiful chest. Lastly, a throne. So here's another entrance. On the front is the sword of Sultan of Osman, Caliph of the 7th century. Here we have some Quran covers, very beautifully made. Some beads and some candle holders. So here is a beautiful view over the Bosporus. There's a place, clothing, changing place for the Sultan. There's a coffee house for the Sultan. And then there's a small mosque, the Sofia Mosque. Also, all these three additions were in the 19th century. So the latest additions to the Topkapi Palace were these three buildings in the time of Sultan Abdülmecid. And then Sultan Abdülmecid made a new palace. That's the Dolmabahce Palace, which is on the other side of the Golden Horn. But usually people go there when they have like 3 days in Istanbul. So okay, here's the Bosporus. You see, there's also the call to prayer. That's the first bridge, the Bosporus Bridge. Now the name changed to the 15th July Martyrs Bridge because of the coup attempt in 2016. This is Europe. This is Europe. That's Asia, okay? In Asia, you see a big mosque. That's the biggest mosque in Turkey. It's the Çamlıca Mosque, built just newly in 2019 by the President Erdogan. There's a flag up there. That's the Çamlıca Hill, the highest hill in Turkey. In Istanbul, you can see in Istanbul, sorry. You can see everything from up there. And there's the TV tower. You can go up there. There's also a restaurant. But I would not recommend you to go to Asia if you have just 3 or 4 days. Yeah, I mean, there are better views. For example, I would recommend you to go to the Galata Tower instead of that TV tower. So now let's look at the sea. This is the Marmara Sea. The Bosporus starts with that Maiden's Tower, and this is the Golden Horn. So we have the Bosporus, the Marmara Sea, and the Golden Horn all meeting in the middle of here. It's a beautiful place. I mean, a lot of people come here to take pictures, you know. So that area is called Üsküdar in Asia. That's Kadıköy. Both are very important places today in Turkey. In Kadıköy, there's also a place called Moda where you can shop. There are a lot of Asian stuff and so on. You see here the walls of Constantinople, built by Emperor Theodosius II in the early 5th century. So almost 1,600 years old. There are the islands, the Princess Islands. They are called the Princess Islands because the Byzantine princes got exiled there when they were dangerous. Today, some of them can be visited. Some of the attractions of Istanbul. And that's the Marmara Sea. From here you can go even to Mediterranean Sea, and then from the Mediterranean Sea anywhere in the world. Russia is located there, Ukraine and everything, Romania, Bulgaria, on the east also the Caucasus, you can visit there. So I'm now returning. I went down from here, now I'm going to the other side. And there is a hospital. That's a hospital, and you see the windows are very high, not below. Why? Because nobody should look inside. Because the women in the harem were also treated here. Also the sultan. Sometimes the sultan had a deadly wound, and nobody should see his wounds. That's why they were here. And most of the physicians were Jewish, because the sultans, they trusted the Jewish people, because they also, by the way, saved the Jews from Spain. But I'm not going to go into detail to that. There are some coffee houses you can see inside. The hospital cannot be visited. And if you follow that way, you will have a beautiful view over the Golden Horn, maybe even the best view. I'll show you the tea house. The name is Kara Mustafa Pasha Köşkü. The pavilion of Kara Mustafa Pasha, who made the second siege of Vienna. So okay, look how beautiful it is. The places to sit. The ceiling is amazing. Yeah, that's how it looks like. At the beauty of that. You see there's a small fountain here before we go to the Golden Horn. And there's a story about Sultan Ibrahim. He had mental health issues, and he threw gold to the fishes here. And one time he threw his own son. He almost drowned. A slave saved him. After that, the ministers gathered and they put him down and crowned the new sultan. So here we have a beautiful golden roof, and beneath that the sultan ate his dinner, and also in Ramadan his iftar. Muslims know that. And the sultans were not allowed to eat with other people. They ate alone because he didn't even trust his own family members, because he had a lot of enemies also in his own family against poisoning. His food was tested for 3 hours before, so he ate always cold. And his drinks, his water was tested 30 minutes before, so everything was controlled. There's a rumor that in that garden, below that balcony, there were exotic animals like giraffes and elephants, big animals. So here you see the Golden Horn. That's the Galata Tower over there. In the Byzantine times, the Italians used to live on the Galata region. Today, also most of the Catholic churches are there. The Orthodox churches are here. That's Greek-speaking world. That's Italian-speaking world. And that tower was also built by Italians, by Genoese people in 1348. And you see there's a flag, and there is a big construction, a building. I'm zoom in. That's the port of the Sultan. When he came here and parked his ship there and then went up to the palace. So that was part of the palace at the time. That's the Golden Horn. It's called the Golden Horn because the sun shines like gold on that, and also it goes like a horn inside the land. It's like a river, but it's not a river. So it was a river thousands of, maybe millions of years ago. So I turned away, and now here you can see that's the place for the circumcision. In Islamic law, circumcision is seen as good, and for Turkish people it's a symbol of coming to being a man. So it was a huge ceremony for the small princes to be crowned here, to be circumcised here. So I'm gonna show you the circumcision place of the princes. Invitations were sent months before for the circumcision ceremony, and outside of circumcision it was also used by the Sultan. So behind me is a building, that's the Revan Köşk. After the conquest of Armenia, Sultan Murad IV in the 17th century, he built that. And behind me also the Baghdad Köşk. After the conquest of Baghdad, the same emperor, Sultan Murad IV, built that one. So that's the Baghdad Köşk, okay? I'm gonna show you the Baghdad Köşk after the conquest of Baghdad. I show you a throne brought from France, gift from Napoleon III, French emperor. The ceiling is amazing, light red, and it's almost circular. And it has a view over the Golden Horn, which is amazing. Okay, while I'm here, I'm gonna show you the Revan Köşk after the conquest of Armenia, and there inside there's also a beautiful throne from Sultan Ahmed, who built the Blue Mosque. These tiles are the beautiful Turkish İznik tiles. On the walls you see there are some holes to put their head gear and so on, and then they would sit here. The Ottomans never used chairs like this, only for the Sultan in ceremonies. The Sultan in his daily life also used to sit in these areas. And you see from here you could also see the Bosphorus. So when you're out there on the front you see the Islamic artifact section. You see that balcony? It's my most favorite balcony in the palace. Previously, before these buildings were made, that directly looked to the Bosphorus. I mean, imagine having a coffee here in the Middle Ages. So if I come back to the third courtyard, where I showed where there's the library. Here's the entrance to the Islamic artifacts chambers. Not only for Muslims, there are also Christian things. For example, the head skull of John the Baptist brought from Jerusalem is inside. I'm gonna show you the entrance of the Holy Relic section and show you some things inside. On the inside there's a man reading the Quran 24/7 every time, because these are the holy relics from Islam. Look at the beauty of the room. There's one of the oldest manuscripts of the Quran from the 7th century. So that's the most interesting part. That is the staff of Moses, of the prophet Moses, you see? Staff of the prophet Moses. They say it was bigger than that, but that's one of the part of the... So these are the relics of John the Baptist, his arm. He was killed, you know, and his head skull. So that is the sword of King David of Solomon. There's some Jewish legend that say that the Messiah will come and take the sword again, and proclaim the kingdom of God again on earth. So that's the most beautiful room in that section, and the mantle, original mantle of the Prophet Muhammad, is inside that chest. It's only opened these are only opened in Ramadan. Also, the flag of the Prophet Muhammad is here. Look at the beautiful designs here. So that's the most famous one, the footprint of Prophet Muhammad in Islam. Brought from Mecca. There are original letters from Prophet Muhammad. There are some hair strings of the Prophet Muhammad. And here we have the sword of the Prophet Muhammad, and also his bow. And also his shoes. And in that room we have the swords of the caliphs, of the successor kings of Prophet Muhammad in Arabia. We have of Omar, Osman, Ali, and so on. I mean, the ones of Ali is famous with two things, with two pointers in the middle. So we have the turban of Ali, the friend of Prophet Muhammad, and also very important for the Shia Muslims in Iran. That is the mantle of the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad in Islam, Fatima. And these are some swords from the Islamic era in the 7th century. To get inside, women need to have headscarves, and on the exit you have to return it. So now I'm getting outside. That leads to the Harem. And here you see there is a stair here. The Sultan used to get out from the Harem with the horse, and here he would go down from the horse. That's for the Sultan. So I'm coming back again from here. Now I'm on the second courtyard where the Imperial Divan is. That was, by the way, the treasury in the Ottoman times. That's why there's only one door to protect it. Today, as I told you, it's an armory for all the weapons. So now this is the entrance to the Harem. There are two entrances when you show the tickets here. So don't throw the tickets away. This leads directly to the Harem, and this leads to the barracks. So when you come here, if you have time, you can start with the barracks. If you don't have time, you can directly go to that side, to the place where the women used to live. So I start with the barracks, and this is one of my most favorite places in Istanbul to see. You can see the roof. You know, I give you a secret. I was a fan of Assassin's Creed, the video game. And it reminds me of that video game where you jump from one roof to another. It's amazing. And it also has beautiful view over the Golden Horn and the Bosphorus, by the way. But don't try, okay? It's not allowed. Look at the beautiful opening here to store something. Look at this. And there's a beautiful fountain here. The Ottoman tiles, Turkish tiles you see here, are the best tiles I've seen in Istanbul. Amazing, beautiful. Look at the details here, different colors. So that's the place of the dormitory where the soldiers guarding the palace used to sleep. Unfortunately, we don't have the places, we don't have the beds, and it was restored. There was a fire which destroyed the roof and so on. But the thing is, the tiles here are very beautiful. I'm gonna show to you. You see the tiles? How beautiful that is. These are original. This is one of the depictions of a servant of the Sultan with long hair on the sides. And look at these circular platforms. How beautiful that is. These are better than the famous blue tiles of the Blue Mosque, okay? In front we have the mosque. You see there's a mosque symbol also. We have the mosque of the guards who live in that palace, and on the walls we have some inscriptions of the servants of the Sultan who built mosques, minarets outside of the palace and who wanted to be remembered. Here on the entrance to the gate it says again there is only one God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. There's another, look, there's an ablution place. I told you that that's a mosque, right? And here they took ablution. So they washed their feet and so on, and then they went on to pray. There's another servant here. That's a pipe room. And in the pipe room, they just sat down, they chilled. Look, they made it new. I'm seeing it the first time. I didn't see this before. In the middle, in many rooms in the Topkapi Palace, in the middle you will see a place for the pipes, okay? So they sit around, a servant brings the hot thing so they can smoke. And here we have a storage room also. And also a hammam to wash themselves, look. In every section of the palace we have a hammam. We Turkish people, we joke about how the Versailles Palace has almost no toilets. Because in the Ottoman Palace, we have almost in every section washing places, toilets and so on. There's another storage room here for the barracks. And now I'm gonna show you a secret place which was newly opened by the palace administration. So up there you see the Tower of Justice, okay? And there's a secret entrance, I'm gonna show it there. But the Sultan, there's a place where he can go up the horse, and then he rides outside 1 day a week, secretly. That's a secret passage of the Sultan. So nobody knows when the Sultan is inside the palace and when he is outside the palace. Only one person knows it. It's that guy who lives in that house. The name is Court of the Head Slave of the Door. So head slave of the door, what does it mean? In every gate there are people who take notes, who goes inside, who goes outside. So these are the slaves of the doors, okay? And the highest of them, this is a high position by the way. The highest is located here, and he is a black eunuch, and he guards the entrance and the secret passage. And only he knows when the Sultan is outside. I'm showing you how he rides outside, look. So he comes from here, and then he rides outside, and then, look, he goes like this, and this is the exit, okay? And then there's secret ways outside of the palace. By the way, you see where the family of the Sultan lived, behind these walls. So the thing is, the Sultan had to go out because he had to see the problems of the people from his own eyes. So he went to the Grand Bazaar, for example, as a beggar, and he looked at the problems. Sultan Süleyman, for example, there's a legend. He saw a little boy begging for money. He asked him why he is begging. He said that his mom I mean, his father died and his mom is sick, so he had to work. So the Sultan took him into the university, into the palace, and then gave a lot of gold to his mom. I mean, that was good times for the Ottoman Empire because the sultans saw firsthand the problems of the people, and they solved it immediately when they returned to the palace. Unfortunately, that tradition ended after the building of the Dolmabahce Palace, when the sultans went away from that to the other side, which is far away from the city center. So they didn't do this, and it was very dangerous for the sultan also. But it is as it is. So the court of the head slave of the door is unfortunately empty. There's nothing. So I go up this way, and this way also goes to the harem. And on the left side we have a hammam for the black eunuchs that guarded the entrance to the harem. There are a lot of hammams. I'm not sure if I'm gonna go to everyone, but just a quick look, you can see where the black eunuchs went to bath themselves. So after sexual intercourse, the Muslims have to go to a hammam to wash themselves fully. You see a toilet. If you're in Turkey, you will get used to go to the toilet in these things. I mean, you don't sit down here, okay? Your feet are here. Here, in these holes, they put their shoes, and then there was a carpet, and they would sit down on these carpets. Now I'm going up to the main section. So, okay, the place where the people sit was the place where the Sultan went onto the horse. He mounted the horse, and look, this road is different from here because this is for the horses. So the Sultan went here, and he could go there or there. So here, horses doesn't slip, they don't fall down. That's why this is the horse road. And in the palace, wherever you see a way like this, you know that the emperor used this road, okay? And I tell you right now, the Sultan was not allowed to go everywhere in the harem. He went onto the horse, went to the secret passage down. Here is a small mosque for the black eunuchs. I'm gonna show it to you. Look, it says Mosque of the Black Eunuchs. Actually, we say masjid. Mosque in Turkish we say cami, gathering place. It's not a gathering place. It's just a small little praying area, masjid. Here we see Medina, where the Prophet Muhammad in Islam is buried. And here we see a beautiful picture of the Kaaba, the holiest place in Islam. So they pray towards this way, okay? There were carpets, of course, not like this. And this is the holy mountain in Mecca. And the people use it during the pilgrimage times. You see, it's mostly green color, and it has beautiful carvings and tiles. So I go out again from the same space, and there you see a gate, okay? I showed you the gate on the Imperial Divan. There was the window where the Sultan looked at the gatherings. He went inside. Only the Sultan was allowed to get inside, and he watched the ministers, what they were talking, secretly. So this way leads to the entrance of the harem. And if you wanna know where the eunuchs lived, this is their houses. Look, it's very high. This is the houses of the black eunuchs. They did not sleep in the harem. That's the harem's entrance. They slept outside the harem. Okay, we are still not in the actual harem. Today it's the harem section of the palace, but it's not the harem in real life. I'm gonna explain to you about the black eunuchs soon. So you see the way leads to that gate. So the Sultan went to his house. Harem means sacred place. For every man, the family is a holy place, a sacred thing. That's why the house of the Sultan is called Harem, holy. So up here there is a verse from the Quran. It says, it's about the Prophet Muhammad and about the Muslims in his time. it says to the Muslims, God says to the Muslims, when you enter the house of the Prophet Muhammad, don't forget to ask for his permission. So because Arabic tribes, some tribes, they entered the house of the Prophet without knocking the door. So the Sultan, by writing this thing, he wanted to say, do not enter my house before asking me for permission. So today we don't have any Sultan yet. That's why I can get inside without permission. And here again, the Sultan is the Caliph, okay, the religious leader. Here it says again, the main sentence of Islam, there's only one God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. So you see, look, there's two ways. Getting outside the Harem to the black eunuch section and getting outside the Harem to the main section of the palace. The third courtyard, where there's the library, the university, okay, I showed you. You can go outside from two different roads. We are not getting outside, so I move on, but we will exit from here. So look, the way leads to that gate and suddenly it stops. Actually, the way goes forward. The gate will open and this is the place where the mother of the Sultan, the queen, lives. The queen's house is there. So the Sultan is not allowed to walk from this gate because the women live here. So the Sultan, even though he is a Sultan, he cannot wander around for free. He had to go to his mother's house. And the mother has access to these chambers here. I will show you something interesting. So what do we have here? First, I just want to mention, we have beautiful carpets, right? Below the carpets are all these straw things because it prevents the cold to come up. So this is a black eunuch. These guys come mostly from Ethiopia. We call them black eunuchs, but we also have white eunuchs, mostly from the Balkan regions. There were like two guilds in the harem. The black sometimes had the upper hand, sometimes the white had the upper hand. But most of the time, the blacks had much more privileges than the white ones. So mostly these come from Ethiopia as a child, and they are educated in Islam, in Turkish culture, architecture, warfare, and so on. And they protect the harem. Okay, these are castrated before they enter the Ottoman palace, because in Islamic Sharia, it's not allowed to cut an organ. So they are brought outside the empire. So they are cut outside the empire. And so the Ottomans overcome the law. It's a bad time for these people, but these were very rich at the time. And the chief eunuch had a lot of money. I mean, he was one of the richest persons in the empire. So now I'm going to the women's chambers. The women were not allowed also to go to any place. Every slave girl had its own way, own workforce. Okay, these were workforce. These were not sex slaves, as a lot of people think. I will explain them a little bit later. Now I'm going to the chamber. Look, it says passage of the concubines. Now we are going to the rooms of the concubines. However, the rooms are under restoration. They are closed, but it looked like this. Okay, we had a lot of women, slave girls living here as slaves. But in the Ottoman Empire, the status of the slaves were very different. Look, you can peek inside, there's a restoration going on. Very beautiful on the inside. Okay, so look, it goes even down. Very interesting, right? So the thing is, when the Sultan wanted to sleep with a woman, he had to get approval from his mother. So the mother chose the queen, okay? She was like guardians of the harem. So the mother of the Sultan looked at the girls in the harem, and she looked who can read the Quran very well, who can write good poems, who can sing, who is good in attributes, in character. And then she would recommend the girl to the Sultan. That's how it worked. So the Sultan was not allowed to come here, by the way. I'm a man. I mean, if I were here in the Ottoman times, they would execute me. Only the mother, the queen, was allowed to come here as the family member and to look around. And she would, of course, give them some missions. You have to do this, you have to do this, you have to clean that way, and so on. So most of the women here, they were just workers here. And we had other slaves also coming here from the outside of the palace, working and then going away again. Yeah, different times at the time. But we have the harem not just in the Ottoman times, also in the Chinese dynasties. They also have harems. And men are not allowed here. Usually we have the princesses also in the harem, also the princes. I mean, until they come to age, the princes, the little boys, are also allowed to stay in the harem, including the eunuchs. They are also male. So, inside that, there's a new exhibition about the hammam. It's just so you see a little bit around how the hammam works. If you've never been in a hammam, you put water, you mix waters on these things, okay, hot and cold, and then you wash yourself. I will not go there because I already showed you how a hammam is. Here are some beautiful reliefs, and now we are going to the office of the mother of the sultan, or we can say the house maybe, but not exactly a house, but she would stay here most of the time, and she would give orders to the slaves in the harem. Look at the beautiful tiles on the walls, and there is also a natural light coming in down. So look, there is no electricity. This is natural light which lights up this area. So okay, now we are in the office of the mother of the sultan. So in Ottoman Turkish we call the mothers of the sultans Valide Sultan, and they are the queens, okay? So in Europe, the wives of the kings are queens. In Turkish culture, societies, the mother is the queen. Only when the mother dies is the first wife, the chief wife of the sultan, the queen. So when the mother dies, this room is controlled by the chief wife of the sultan. So what is a chief wife of a sultan? The chief wife is the mother of the heir. So, and it changes sometimes. Sometimes the sultan has a little son and he's the heir, but then the sultan dislikes the mother or the son. So he exiles them to another palace in Edirne, Adrianople, Bursa, and so on, and he proclaims a new heir. And that new heir's mother is the new queen or the chief wife, okay? This is how it worked. Now I'm gonna go further, and there is a ceremony hall over there, but first I'm gonna show you the hammams of the sultans. Never forget to look up in the harem, by the way. Before I go, I want to show you this from the 18th century. And look at this gate with mother of pearl. Everything was done without nails and without hammer, okay? Beautifully designed. There's a hammam for the mother of the sultan. She was combed, washed by the slave girls. All these things are from the 18th century. Look, very yellow. This is a Baroque type of painting. And when you see yellow, you know it's a late period. And now I'm gonna show you the hammam of the sultan. Look, it says Sultan's hammam, okay? And every hammam has 3 sections. The very hot place, the warm place, and the cold place. In the cold place, they would change their clothing. In the warm place, they would chill a little bit. In the hot, they would wash themselves. And look, it has a beautiful golden gate. And the sultan was also, he also locked himself up so nobody could come with a dagger and kill him. And you see this beautiful water fountain. Normally water comes down from here, and it's very deep, so he had enjoyed his time. And if you've never been in a hammam, look, there are 2 handles, you can turn it on. From one it comes very cold, from other one it comes very hot, so you have to mix it. And there are different cups where you have to mix it in them. There are some storage places, and the lights above, we call them the elephant eyes. You see, it's naturally lighted. You don't need a candle to light it up. So the natural light coming from the elephant eyes light the room very, very perfectly. Okay, now I'm getting outside the Sultan's hammam. Look, here we have another place in the warm section. I can also show you the toilet of the Sultan. Look, you can even see the toilet of the Sultan. That's crazy. And now I'm getting to the ceremony hall. Look, the ceremony hall will astonish you. It's amazing. Look, immediately it catches the eye. With beautiful tiles, beautiful carvings. Look at that. It's all real gold, by the way. It's no fake gold, okay? This is real gold. The Ottoman sultans were richer than European kings. They controlled North Africa, Near East, most of the Balkans, okay? This is where he sat down. These are gifts from China. The mother would sit here. And in the Ramadan times, for example, they would come and kiss the hand of the sultan. That's a ceremony hall. And the musicians were on that balcony. Sometimes male musicians were allowed. They would bind the eye of these musicians. They would carry them inside. They would sing and play music. And they were carried out again. They would not see the women here. And the women in the harem, they didn't have to cover their hair because it was a women area anyway. Yeah, so that's why they were free actually in the dressing. But every slave status had a different clothing, just for you to know. Here we have, in my opinion, the most beautiful mirror from the Ottoman times. See how beautiful that is? A lot of people come here to take picture. So if you wanna do something, just take a picture here. So that's the ceremony hall. So foreign kings, queens, foreign important visitors were also accepted here in that audience, in front of the family of the sultan. Here in the middle, as you saw earlier, that's the pipe room. Okay, that's a pipe place. They would take pipes and have water pipes. Water pipe was very popular in the Ottoman times. Still today in Turkish culture, water pipe is important. So, okay, I'm getting outside the room, and there are two ways, to the right and to the left. Go to the left, because on the left there is a beautiful room with a fountain. Look, there is a fountain here. That was a gathering place, that room. It's a very big place. And the waters were opened up so nobody could listen from the outside. There's a fire, there is water. Because Sultan Süleyman told his architect to build a room where water and fire can see each other. So he made a chimney here and the fountain here. And on the walls you can see the headgear could be stored there. There was of course carpet, not like this. Some sultans prefer to sit there, some over there. What's interesting is the dome. The dome is a dark red. I mean, you don't see dark red so often by Turkish cultures. Still, that room has that, and all the blue inscription is from the Quran. It's like a magical place guarded by the Quran. So now I'm getting outside. You see on the walls there is the tree of life depicted, and that room, that way leads to the house, the villa of the Sultan. As you see, we have a fountain here, we have a building here with a sign of King David. We call, in Turkish we say the Mührü Süleyman. It means the sign of Solomon the Magnificent. These are used a lot in the Ottoman times. Here are the rooms of the family of the Sultan. So the family, the wives, the kids of the Sultan lived here. So the Sultan sometimes had more than one wife by marriage. Okay, most of the time, I have to be honest with you. And they used to live here in that area, okay? Unfortunately, we cannot visit this area, but we know where they are, and it has one of the most beautiful views over the Galata region. And there's also a pool down there. I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna zoom in because on some windows they made an exhibition. They show how the women dress themselves. Look, I'm zooming in. There's a woman here, a woman there, and the women there. So they dress themselves very differently from the Muslims and Turkish people who have headscarves in today's society. And now we look towards the Galata Tower. I made a video about the Galata Tower. You can go inside. That was the beautiful sunset in my video if you want to see that. And look, the villa goes further back, and down there is the pool. Okay, look, this is the pool where the Sultan and the family members used. Okay, and there's also a gate there. And look, it has big walls, so nobody could see inside, of course, because they wash themselves here. And there's also a walking place inside. I mean, it looks like a 1001 Night Stories. Like I don't know if you watched the cartoon Aladdin. I mean, it looks like this. It's amazing where the Sultan lived. They have a place here, and also some places around. But the unfortunate thing is that we cannot see the rooms. But we know around. I mean, if you look in Google or in internet how the Ottoman rooms are made. I mean, these are like the Oriental, like the Anatolian rooms, okay, in the Anatolian old houses, villages. So we can have an imagination how they look like. So look, here it goes up, but we cannot go. I'll show you a dress of a woman, very elegantly, and there it goes up. And also here, we also have rooms here, but as you see, it's not open for public. I can show you the small mosque praying area of the family of the Sultan. Look how beautiful it's made. It's mostly from the 18th century. Look, the Sultan would be here, they would pray here. It's not as elegant as the big mosques, of course, because this is just for family use. And also inside the harem, the girls would be educated in Quran reading, writing poems, and also music and so on. So it was an education place, okay? So the women here were not just held. They were educated because when the students from the male university, they enter in the university, graduate, they are married with these girls here, with the slave girls here. So they have to be very strong. I mean, they have to be intellectual to rule the government, to be a wife of the governors and so on, of the generals, to give advice to their husbands. So here on the wall it says, MashaAllah, it means may God protect it. Look how beautiful the tiles are. Okay, now I'm going down. Look at that gate. How beautiful with mother of pearls. And now I'm showing you the golden road. So that's the golden road, not because there is yellow electricity, because in Ramadan the Sultan went through this way and he gave gold to the slave girls, which are on the left and right side, who open their hands. He would give them gifts, okay, a lot of gifts, and that's why the road is called the Golden Road. And this way leads outside the harem, but there are some things I want to show you here. So there's a stair going up, and there was an old storage, actually food storage. You see, there's an exhibition here that was newly made. So on the walls you see some kitchen stuff. Look, women were not allowed to cook because a slave girl made an accident and the palace almost burned down. So only male people were allowed to cook in the palace. So I'm outside again. I'm gonna explain about that. Look, the stair is called after a slave girl, Cevri Kalfa, because there was a rebellion in the empire and they wanted to kill the heir, but that girl, Cevri Kalfa, took the crown prince, brought it up, and he hid the sultan, the next sultan, I mean the heir, on the roof. And then the rebellion ended and he became the sultan, and then the sultan named it after her because she saved his life. Okay, we are almost outside. And here we have the house of the mother of the Sultan. I don't know if you have been in Bosnia, in Sarajevo. You see houses like this and an opening in the middle. Roman houses were also like this. Look, two-storied buildings here. That's the house of the Sultan. That's for public visit now. You see, I showed you the gate. The Sultan's horse can come to the mother's house, and look, there are stairs. There he would dismount the horse and they would visit the mother, okay? And that was the treasury inside the harem, and that was guarded, of course, by the mother of the Sultan. If the mother dies, guess who controls this? The chief wife, of course. So now I'm gonna get inside. Here above it again, it says there's only one God and Muhammad is the messenger of God. Everywhere in the palace we have Islamic inscriptions because, as I told you, the Sultan was also the leader of Islam in the world. So, okay, here we have a beautiful golden chimney. Here we have a beautiful fountain with orange color, which is weird because we don't have anything like this anywhere else. We have some storage rooms, and here it says in Arabic, the Sultan is the shade of God on earth, okay? So the Sultan, the mother was of course loyal to his son, and he was the protector and supporter of his son, the Sultan. I'm gonna show you a room inside. Here we have another beautiful fountain, and you can do ablution here, and you see there was a restoration, and during restorations they usually make one side, they don't restore one side to show how it originally looked like, which I find very good. But that's the only thing we see from the house of the mother of the Sultan. So I'm heading back. So okay, I'm heading back, and there's a way. And now we are getting outside, by the way. Don't expect something new. I'm gonna show you a place where we have already been. Remember that black eunuch? Yes. And now this way leads outside the harem to the third courtyard of the palace, where the Sultan has his special rooms and his library, his university, and everything. You see, the road of the horse leads outside. And I'm also gonna show you a place where the Sultan would dismount a horse. Look, imagine yourself on horseback. You come here, and on top of these stairs you dismount a horse, and then you come back, and here you are in your chambers. The Sultan would spend most of his time here. Of course he would sleep in the harem, but in the after morning prayer he would come here usually. And there's the audience chamber I showed you, the library, and the other things. Okay, now I'm getting outside. I gave a general guide in the Topkapi Palace, what you can see, and there you can spend 3 hours here inside or just 45 minutes. It's up to you. Some of the people, they don't want to walk around, get inside everywhere, so even half an hour is enough for some. Way back we see a cistern underground. Is a water tank where we believe it's from the Byzantine times, but we don't have a lot of information about that. So if you want to have some information about the harem means sacred. The family of the Sultan lives in the harem, and also eunuchs, black eunuchs from Ethiopia mostly. They are castrated men. They are used in the harem because they can look at the women there, and the Sultan, they reported to the Sultan everything what's happened in the harem. The harem is a place of intrigue. The Sultan has a lot of women, and every wife of the Sultan wants his own child to become the next Sultan. So there are a lot of intrigues, a lot of killings, and that's why the harem is a dangerous place actually. Behind me is a tree that's 800 years old, from the Byzantine times, older than the Ottoman Empire, and you see it is still alive. Still leaves can be seen here. By the way, the exit is not here. The exit is behind that tree, okay? You have to move that way to exit the palace. On the exit it says, "Victory comes only by Allah." It's a verse from the Quran. So the Ottoman sultans, they prayed here before they went to war.